very much impact-oriented. How can we make a difference in the community? Very mission-oriented. Well, that mindset has actually now become very common in the for-profit sector as well. So we all know these millennials, right? I'm old. Millennials are everywhere. So much so that they're going to make up 75% of the workforce by 2025. And a recent survey suggested that 50% of millennials, plus or minus, would take a cut in pay if they found real meaning in their work, real purpose. And in fact, that purpose, the meaning of their work, is the number one indicator of job satisfaction. I mean, that's incredible. Think about that. They would take a cut in their pay if they really believe in what you did, right? And in fact, that's the number one job satisfaction. Are we doing something good collectively? So consumers are also looking for this. As I mentioned, I'm a little older. So I lived through the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s where companies were stumbling. You had financial service companies blowing up. You had the Enron disaster. You had some defensive companies, again, having struggles. So it became a common question, and business schools began addressing this. How can companies really earn the trust of their consumers? How can they make sure that consumers understand what they do, that they do it ethically, that they do it with good intent, and that they have a common vision of where they want to go? How do we build trust with our consumers? Recent survey from Cone Communications suggested 87% of customers stated that they would purchase the product based on the values of the company. Think about that. I choose companies based on what I think they value, or based on what I know they value. And in fact, 76% would boycott a brand if they didn't support their beliefs. Now think about that personally. Does that resonate? Do you think about the companies you do business with? Do you think about what their image is, what they do, how they value, what they do in terms of impact? Do you often see a company and then you question, you think, I don't know about this place. Even though I like the product, I just don't know. Would you hesitate? Would you shift? The data suggests you would. And gone are the days when I was at Procter & Gamble, where we were all together, basically in the huge headquarters in Cincinnati, and then they had other offices around the world, but they were all offices, and people went to the office, and the environment was somewhat controlled, and you can understand what the employees were doing, and you can reinforce the behaviors you wanted. Gone are those days. Right now, it's all about virtual. It's all about remote. So if I'm working in my dining room for a large company, how do they know that I'm adhering to their behaviors that they want? That I'm behaving in a way that's appropriate and in line with the culture of the firm? Technology allows me to do that, to do the work, but because of that, they need to be thinking more innovatively around how we connect all these separate parts of a company, and how do we ensure that they're sharing the same values, that they're sharing this vision and this mission. So the data suggests something really interesting. They did this survey and segmented companies with most engaged employees, people who are totally into it, to the least engaged. And then they compared those two sets of data. What they found, in those organizations that are most engaged, 22% better profits vis-a-vis the ones that were least engaged, 21% better productivity, 10% higher customer ratings, 25 to 26% less employee turnover, 37% less employee absenteeism, 48% fewer safety incidents, engaged, not engaged, environments that pull employees in and make them focus and allow them to really prosper, versus organizations that might not really think about that so much. Across all the major indicators, what this says is look at the businesses who can achieve these results are the businesses that are growing and the businesses that are being sustained. Culture. Kevin, it's always about organizational behavior. So I'm going to put forward there are three key aspects of creating these types of environments. First of all, it's essential that organizations state their purpose. Kind of who they are, what they do, why they exist, the values that they embrace, the behaviors that they want, the beliefs that they have. What does that look like? Then you need to build the team. You need to design the organization. You need to put the right people in the right chairs doing the right jobs. You need role clarity. And then finally, you need to reinforce it. You just don't establish it and move on. It's a living, breathing organism, especially as companies grow. We heard Zealing on the stage earlier today. Look at the growth that they've had. From 3 employees to 110 employees. That's incredible. Organization's different now. How do you manage an organization of 110? How do you maintain the culture? That is work. So let's go one step at a time. State your purpose. The what, the why, and the how. It's so important for organizations to have mission statements. The mission statement is the what you do, often how you do it, often for whom you do it. So the brass tacks, this is why we exist. What we do, how we do it, and for whom. The vision statement, the why. Like what, the world is a better place because this company exists. Why? What is the impact you're looking to make? What are you all collectively trying to do? What motivates you to get out of bed in the morning? Is it clear? Is it meaningful? Is it engaging? And then finally, the how. And the how really is based in the value system. What are those values that you profess? Why? And what do they mean? What are the beliefs that the organization really embraces? Why? And what do they mean? And how can we bring it to life? So there are some sample mission statements. These large organizations, the ones that are doing really well, take this seriously. So when I was in business school again, you had all these finance people who were very quantitative and very Excel spreadsheet, and they would roll their eyes at the organization stuff. They're like, that's the easy stuff. The fluff, they would say. Right now, the fluff has become the most meaningful and the most impactful. Many people can do spreadsheets, right? It's the environment in which you're doing the spreadsheet that's most important. So these large companies, as you can see, really take it seriously and have very clear mission statements. They might not all have the what, the how, the for whom, but the intent is pretty clear in terms of what they do. Very clear. Whether you're Zappos to provide the best customer service possible, deliver the wow through service, whether you're Asana to help humanity thrive by enabling all teams to work together and effortlessly. Very clear. All humanity, enabling teams to work together and effortlessly. The what, the how, and the for whom. But then there's the vision. The vision is the big why. Why you exist. Disney is not about the theme parks. That might be in their mission. It's not about the movie studios. It may be in their mission. Not about the movies. Probably in their mission. What they're about is making people happy. In fact, I was in Disney World 2 weeks ago with my youngest son. We had promised him, parents beware, we had promised him like 10 years ago when we were there and he couldn't ride the rides because he wasn't tall enough, that we would come back. And we finally came back when he was tall enough. And I'm walking around Disney World thinking, this is the happiest place on earth. People are happy. The staff is happy. Everyone's so gracious, Everyone's so welcoming. The lines are horrible. But you don't mind spending $15 on a turkey leg because you're in the happiest place on earth. And they bring it to life every single day. And that's how their employees get out of bed in the morning and say, I'm going to make people happy today. Everything we do is behind that vision. Instagram, to capture and share the world's moments. IKEA, to create better everyday life for the many people. Big, aspirational, but achievable and out there. So the vision's the why, and the mission is how you're going to achieve the why. And then finally, you've got the values. Okay. Values, I would argue, is maybe the most important part of this equation. You need it all. You need the vision, you need the mission. But man, the values are what brings it all together. Because the values indicate to your employees the behaviors you're looking for and the attitudes that you expect. Values communicate internally and they communicate externally. This is an example of a value system we actually built for one of our clients. There are 6 core values that they wanted to embrace as a firm, that they wanted their employees to know about, and they wanted their clients to know about. Knowledge, efficiency, empowerment, trust, relationships, adaptability. Those are words, and that's a great start. But what do we mean when we say these words? How can we bring these words to life and give them more meat and give them more context and give them more texture? Knowledge as a catalyst for innovation, efficiency with our communication, empowerment of our clients, trust of our team, relationships built on trust, adaptability in our thinking, etc. So how we bring these words, how we define the words that are most important, how we bring more context around these words, and then how we institutionalize these words. This picture is an actual sign that they put into their office, such that when you walk around their office, you see the values. We've had clients break apart the value system and put words around the organization. You go into the bathroom, you go into the kitchen, you see a word. That's a really good way of reinforcing to your employees, to reinforcing to your clients. They put them on their websites, they put them in their collateral material. This is who we are as an organization. This is what we value. Why we exist, what we do, and what we value. Now, oftentimes, there's no one value that everyone should embrace or could embrace, other than like honesty and respect. You hope that those are just a given. But other value words, you need to be really clear about the type of organization you are. And this thing called value tension. You can't move fast and break things and get things right every time. There probably is a choice around that. Indulgence around celebration versus restraint around kind of more of a conservative, methodical approach. Are we individual contributors or are we team? Or are we somewhere in between? If you're an entrepreneurial startup, you're going to move fast and break things. If you're a hospital or an airline engine producer, you want to get things right every single time. So you can't mess around. So again, what you do is really important, and the how you do it, the values you overlay, really aligns with what you do and how you do it. Two great examples. This idea of value alignment with the brand. So we all have experienced Southwest. When Southwest was introduced 45 some odd years ago, they were so innovative. They redefined the airline industry. While other airlines were taking an hour to turn around a plane in a terminal, they took 10 minutes. Their mantra, people first. We are all about customer service. In fact, the CEO told the employees, do not worry about profit. All you need to worry about is customer service. All day, every day, you're there to put the people first. And people first for both the employees and people first for the customers. So this idea of three key phrases: warrior spirit, servant's heart, fun-loving attitude. Those were the three things that every Southwest employee knew. The warrior spirit, the servant's heart, and the fun-loving attitude. So striving to be the best, never giving up, treat others with respect, be a passionate team player. That's what they do every day. And if you fly Southwest even today, it's fun. They're witty. They'll do something kooky. That's what the kind of customer service that they embrace, that's what everyone has internalized for the company. And by the way, they've had 42 years of consecutive profitability. Don't worry about profitability, they say. Focus on people. Focus on service. That is what we value. Now, Amazon recently has been talked about in the press as being a really intense environment. That maybe it's just too intense, maybe a little competitive. And what was interesting about that feedback is employees, when reading these articles, have gone on social media saying, no, wait. We actually like that. We value that. Our intensity drives our success. When my wife orders something at 10 p.m. at night and it arrives the next day, she likes that. And that's what they focus on. They need to get packages where they need to get them really, really quickly. They're customer obsessed. That's their culture. And with that obsession comes a level of intensity. So with your values, there's also beliefs. And these beliefs kind of align with your vision and align with your mission and complement your values. So whether you're Procter & Gamble and believe that all products should be top quality, Whether you're an education system where you believe teachers should have access to the best technology tools available, whether you're a people development organization where you believe that all people have potential, whether you're Fidelity Investments and using data to make decisions all day long. These beliefs need to mirror what you do, why you do it, and the value system you believe. It is no different than being a person, right? As individuals, we have beliefs and we have values. And those beliefs and those values may be aligned with a greater purpose that we each define for ourselves. And it dictates how I show up, how I engage, how I relate, how I get things done. Everything we do as human beings is values-based and belief-based. And it manifests itself in our behaviors. Organization's no different. It's just a collective of human beings working together against a common goal. What they believe and what they value dictates how they show up. People first, customer service. The profit will come. So then the next chapter is how you build your team. Really, really important. Getting the right people in the right jobs, doing the right role. Having job descriptions, org design, making sure that everything is really clear. When you're hiring, it's really important. A company becomes the people it hires, not the plan that it makes. Having behaviors and skills are really important when you're assessing human beings. You want to make sure they have the behaviors that are aligned with the company and that they also have the skills, but often organizations focus strictly on skills and not necessarily on the behaviors. So when interviewing, you want to have the people in the upper right quadrant. You know, they share the behaviors that we have and they have the skills that we need. Oftentimes, if there's going to be a trade-off, organizations often say, you know what, I'm prioritizing behaviors because behaviors tend to be innate. Skills can be trained. And if we're a training organization, we can develop those skills. Some screening questions for how you interview and how you hire. What type of culture do you thrive in? What type of management style do you value? How do you deal with conflict? There are a lot of tools out there that can help assess a person's behavior and attitudes. Oftentimes, companies grab the skill and they don't think about fit. And at the end of the day, I always say, you meet lots of people with great skills. It just might not be the right fit. So you need to ensure that you have the right fit for the people you're putting into your organization. And I often say behaviors trump words, right? At times in my career, I would tilt my head because someone would say one thing in the corporate setting, and then they would behave very differently. And I had a manager once tell me, Kevin, behaviors trump words. Behaviors are what we do and how we show up. Words are cheap. Always look at behaviors. And when you build your team, make sure that you're adhering to these values every single day. And the values are great in the good times, but the values are more meaningful in the bad times. And this quote from Johnson & Johnson is so meaningful. We hold them even if they became a competitive disadvantage in certain situations. They had a Tylenol crisis. People were dying. They didn't understand why. They could have handled that many different ways. They could have said, not my problem, not our fault, some criminal is poisoning people on the shelf. They could have tried to get them off the shelf quietly. No. Customers first, quality, healthcare superiority. They adhered to their values and they're like, we will fix this and we will go public and we are going to make a statement that the safety of our clients are number one and we will take it and own it. That's adhering to your values. And then finally, bringing vision and values to life. So it's great to have words on a wall, and it's great to make sure that people know what they are, but it's really reinforcing the behaviors that are so important. And I would often say performance management, how you give feedback to your employees, is essential for nurturing values. And the giving feedback, there's two components. There's the what, and there's the how. Oftentimes, organizations focus on the what, and they don't really think about the how. And I would say the most robust organizations are the ones that focus on both the what you do, what are the goals for the jobs you have, and then the how you do it. What are the behaviors we're expecting? In financial services, I've worked with several companies, as I mentioned. One company was more, get it done. Get it done. I don't care how you get it done, just get it done. Oftentimes in that culture, you find some dead bodies lying in the hallway. Other cultures would say, get it done, the same rigor. They want the same outcome, get it done. But how you get it done is so important. Being collaborative, being team-oriented, bringing people with you, the values is what you bake into your performance management system. The people who succeed become role models of what's valued. You do performance management, you give feedback, you promote people. You showcase the behaviors you're looking for. It's consistency that those are the behaviors you want to bring to life. Those are the values that you are really embracing. And then along with performance management, aligning incentives. We all know REI, they're big outdoors and they really value employees being outdoors, and they fund paid 2 days off a year to go outdoors and be with your family and explore nature and enjoy, because that's what we value. They also provide challenge grants. If I wanted to bring a group of people and go kayaking and I put a grant in, they might fund all the equipment, again aligned with their values. Airbnb gives all their employees $2,000 for travel spend in their Airbnb type properties. That's what they value: travel, exploration. And they reinforce that through stipends to their employees. At Trepwise, we're really about philanthropy and giving back to our community, so every employee has a philanthropic budget that they can apply every single year. We are about celebrating successes and celebrating our clients' successes, so we have team dinners. We do a lot in hospitality. So we'll go to the different restaurants and celebrate within the restaurant system. So if you do this right, it's about attracting the right employees, it's about selecting the right employees, and it's about reinforcing and managing and training and giving feedback such that attrition is really low. And attrition is actually replaced with retention. And the more and more people that you get, the more and more people that you nurture, the more and more people who know about the vision, mission, and values are the ones that will succeed. So there's 3 key elements. What is your purpose? How do I build this team? And how do I bring values to life? Now, if you go back to the definition of words, culture actually means a place tilled, farming land. And way back, it also talks about the development of a philosophical soul. I mentioned culture just doesn't happen. It needs to be choreographed, it needs to be defined, it needs to be supported, it needs to be communicated, it needs to be reinforced. And like the land, like the farming, it needs to be constantly tilled, constantly nurtured, constantly reinforced, especially as organizations grow and in this entrepreneurial ecosystem that we're so excited to be part of. We see organizations grow both in the for-profit and the nonprofit spaces. When you go from 3 to 110 to 250, the culture, the first question should be, how do we maintain what we're doing? How do we ensure the vision's right? How do we make sure the mission's known? How do we reinforce these values? Every day, they're reinforced by how you show up. And as leaders of organizations and as managers, behaviors trump words. And the behavior that you do, and the behavior you expect of your employees, and as your employee base expands, will be exactly what you need to ensure that the culture is being maintained and being reinforced. I really appreciate being here all today. Happy Noe, and